MasAti is a three-time near-death experience survivor. He is the founder of Exponential Intelligence, the XI Code, where he reveals why frequency work can accelerate personal evolution. Excited to have you on. Welcome to the show, Masada.
Thanks, George. Thanks, George. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about your personal lives, more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Gosh, well, George, like a lot of people, as a young kid, we have that fire and that integrity of just knowing that we have limitless potential. But then, as we grow older and older, especially towards our, late teens, we start to wonder, it's like, shit, I'm losing that opportunity. The window is closing. So, and that's where my first near death came about. It's like I wanted to know, I didn't want that window to close because I see so many people in their 20s and 30s, going, gosh, I don't want to turn into my parents. I didn't want to turn into they're great people, but I wanted a better version, so I asked the universe and I asked so strongly that it's like, do you really want to know? It's like, yeah, I really want to know. And that's where I had my first near death. And it turned my whole life meaning around what my purpose was. Because nowadays, people go, well, if I make a lot of money, if I do this, if I get married and all that, life will be good. If I get college education and all those things, and life will be good. But then we're finding out, George, that it's not that great. There's billionaires that are committing suicide. There's people who aren't billionaires committing suicide. There's spiritual people, that are on the Epstein list. It's like, what the hell's going on? So that first near death in my early 20s really opened me up to say the answers or the possibilities. The first near death was where I had my jaws crushed in a rail car accident. I'm not going to get too much into the details. It's on my website. Um, but overall, that allowed me to understand the potential that we truly are. And it gave me that window. It's like, gosh, it's really there. It's true. It's not just a dream. Um, and it allowed me to expand. It allowed me to understand the possibilities. But it took the second near death for me to say understand the mechanics or the science on how to bring that possibility into physical action or physical form to not only transform my life, but now, gosh, I don't know, tens of thousands of people throughout the world. I've done over 100,000 client sessions, 14 years of experience, and radically, say, shifting people's trajectory from, say, decades worth of, say, work, grind, therapy into literally, say, maybe a couple weeks. So that's how fast we can transform. And I've honed it into a science. So, and I love it.
Well, that's an incredible thing,
Yeah.
not having to have two near-death experiences. I'm sure that those weren't awesome necessarily, but
Yeah. The process wasn't awesome, but the outcome, George, when you can get that close to, say, your maker or to who you truly are, and then come back and live and tell about it and spread the word, it's a beautiful experience.
yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I certainly appreciate that, so many people lead lives of quiet desperation, and
Yeah.
philosophers have been noticing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's a prescription for it is a whole nother thing.
Right.
And so that you have, through asking and being answered and looking for it and being available or able to
Right.
receive the information and then to transmute it or translate it to other people, that's
Right.
a that's no small feat.
No, well, I'm not the first one that's done it, and it's not just about near death. If you look at like say Nikola Tesla or Einstein or any of those individuals, they basically went into an altered state. I went into an altered state. The mechanism was different. I had accidents. They like Tesla, he just put him in put himself, and that's why he always says, be alone, be alone. It's like, yeah, when he's alone, he literally transcends into an altered state, say on command, gets ideas or inventions, and then brings them back down here and figures out, hey, how do I it, put it here, put it together here. So that mechanism people use all the time, great inventors, even Elon Musk. He uses, probably plant medicines and so on like that to get into altered states, get great ideas, come back and go, okay, how do we solve it here? So it's not woo or anything. It literally is. People do it all the time. People get that aha moment. Having a near death is probably the most extreme aha moment you could talk about. So
Yeah, you probably don't want to do that too consistently.
no, no, not at all.
So how do altered states play into your work now?
Altered states. I use altered states to help shift and transform people. Most people, so there's different layers. And think of it this way, George, people have, say, a traumatic experience, during childhood, right? And what they do is like, and they still operate from that traumatic experience. So just think of it, and your audience, obviously, we're in a recording, but your audience can think of, say, being in a room where that trauma occurred. Okay. They stay in that room. They never exit the room. So, like with psychology and many of the motivational works, derived from like Think and Grow Rich. I've actually got a program called Command Grow Rich and Happy. But from Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, every other program is derived from that. Psychology is derived from that. And basically, what they do is like, okay, you're in this room. Let's deal with it, so you can deal with the pain. It doesn't say delete the pain. It doesn't delete the distortions that you still live from, right? And then becoming successful just magnifies that distortion, going, hey, if you want to be happy in love, in success, or anything like that, what you want to do is like you want to leave the room. But nobody shows you or tells you that one, you can leave the room, two, how to leave the room. They basically go, you're stuck in this room. We'll apply psychology and mental, say, motivation to help you stay in this room. And you can make a lot of money, but you're still in this room. What I go is altered states that you're talking about. Wait, it's like, wait a second. You were this version of yourself here, but this version actually learned from that traumatic experience and like recovered completely. So that's an altered state. We all live in an altered state. Altered states are from your genetics, which isn't true. You can age differently than your parents can, and we've proven that. Generational patterns, societal patterns, and then your life experiences. Those four ingredients, people go, well, that's what we're made of, and that's what it is. And that's what I'll say create the rest of my life from those four ingredients. And we're going, no, you don't have to. You can learn from those, delete those, move into another, say, room and be a very different person. So that's how I use altered state. I don't use like mental mechanisms or anything. It's literally a shift in time and space.
Getting stuck in that room and so much of success, help, psychology, therapy is just how to be happy in that room and how to get the best out of yourself while you're in that room. When in
Yes,
reality, if you really want to get what you want, you're probably going to have to leave the room.
exactly. Absolutely. And this is where people, amass massive fortunes, but then they spread that chaos and distortion through, their generations, through their kids, and then their kids get messed up. And you see it in people, in successful people, and you see it in not so successful people because nobody leaves the room. So,
Which I mean, I love everything about that. Whether it's true or not, or was actually in the Bible, Jesus had to leave his town in order to get his message out because everybody
there
knew Jesus is just, that's a Joseph and Mary's kid, and Jesus doing Jesus things again.
yeah.
But he had to leave his town, and then he became Jesus.
Well, even Jesus, he basically used altered states to heal people. Literally, he basically, I mean, he had fantastic abilities, obviously, but basically, it's like, hey, this version of you is hurt and damaged. This version of you is not. And he had the authority and the ability to go, we're just going to move you here. And then it's like, boom, that's where like instantaneous healing comes. That's where amazing things happen to people. It's not because if you do it like at a biological or linear time level, it's too slow and it just doesn't work out, as efficiently as he could. So he had fantastic abilities to literally go, hey, let's drop you here. And when you drop somebody in another room or another environment, they adapt to that environment. And that's where amazing healing and transformation happen. So, yeah, Jesus is an amazing well, teacher of mine. So is Buddha, and many of those greats that are out there. But yeah, they basically did it. The in the science behind what they did. So it's not just woo-woo. There literally is a science behind what they did.
And how do you describe how you came to learn it? Was it downloaded to you? Did you just all of a sudden have it through the second experience?
Yeah, the second near death it was a drowning. And so the first near death allowed me to understand kind of like an apprenticeship, where it's like, oh, I'm learning about the trade. The second near death put me into, journeyman level, where it's like you start to, accumulate, say, knowledge. And yeah, I used to like wake up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's like there'd be the voice that go, "Hey, it's time to wake up and meditate." I'm going, "Who is that? Who's in the room?" And it's like, and whether it's my consciousness or something coming into me, and I go, it's time to meditate. And I'm going, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to sleep. It's like, no, you're going to meditate. It's like, okay. Because they won't leave you alone. So it's like, all right, I'll meditate. And so in those deep meditations where I was standing up, and I'd be there. It felt like maybe 5, 10 minutes, but then I'd wake up and the sun was shining. So it's like, wow, I've been meditating for 3, 4 hours. So that's where you literally like probably went into altered states and just like downloaded so much information. And it's not like information here that it just sits like a library. You integrate the information. So the nights of the soul or dark nights of the soul, as Jesus went through, and many people go through that process, right? Of cleansing, say, their identity, their distortions, they're sacrificing who and what they're not. So that's what I went through. It took about 3, 4 years to figure that out. And this is where I'm a computer programmer by trade. And this is where I started to literally start programming people. I see people as code. And it's like, oh, that code is corrupt. That code is from your mom. Why are let's take the goodness of your mom and then leave the rest out for you. You don't need that code. It worked for her generation maybe, but it doesn't work for your generation. So it's literally I see code in people, or I see algorithms, a lot like AI. I can read people, I can scan people, and help them radically, say, shift their life in a very, very short time.
Is it knowable what percentage of people really truly want to find another room? Sure, there's a lot of people that it sounds like a good idea, but this room's pretty good. I wouldn't mind optimizing and being a little healthier, better looking, but do I
Yeah.
really want a wholesale shift?
Yeah, you really bring up a great question there. A lot of people, do lip service, but when it comes to actual work on, say, leaving the room, because you have to literally change the structure of who you are. Obviously, the older that you get, it's harder to leave that structure because that's been with you for so long. But kids, especially young kids, I work with a lot of kids who have ADD, ADHD, their parents have changed, and they go, "Hey, moms, work on my kids." So those kids naturally gravitate to it because it's like, yeah, I want to leave the room. A lot like I was, when I was a teenager. It's like before you get a teenager, you want to literally leave the room because it's a lot easier and create your own, say, room. Okay. But yes, there are more and more people are starting to realize that, the way we create success, basically what fame, fortune, religions, and now AI won't solve. More and more people are starting to realize it's like, hey, I really want that change. And what I've tried in the past isn't working out. So I guess more and more people are awakening and willing to do the work. And that's another key with what I do is like I'm not a guru or anything where it goes, "Hey, I'll take care of it for you. You just follow me." It's like, no, this is what you got to do. I help you at a very deep level and you automatically change, but you still have to do the work because you have to come into command of your own life. And that's really important for what we do.
Sure, the process is different for everyone. You have what you've seen, is there a common amount of time?
Yes, people who have done the work, maybe who've done like the Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, those kind of people, the searchers, basically, who've gone through life, who've tried things, but they just couldn't get or access. There's a deeper layer that a lot of those, say, traditions or modalities don't reach. So they've got, say, success mechanisms built in. They failed a lot. They failed in life, but they've kept trying. This work doesn't work for people who failed and they go, well, I'm just a victim and I'm just going to let the government or whatever take care of me. That it doesn't work for us. But those people who have had mechanisms that are still searching, and it's like, wow, this is the key component. And then once we give them that key component, their success mechanisms that they've learned along the way just like accelerate them. And gosh, they can do massive amounts of transformation in a very, very short time period of time.
And transformation for the sake of transformation is maybe attractive to some people. What
Yeah.
do you say is that people stand to gain?
Well, the biggest thing is completeness, a deeper understanding of who they are, their purpose, of why they're here. A lot of times, we have a lot of like high level or high net worth individuals come to us. They're multimillionaires or billionaires, and they're coming to us. It's like, Moss, I've done all that, but there's still something missing, and I know that you can help me. Because usually they're referred to us, word of mouth. So that whatever that people want at a deeper level, that say success and fame and fortune just doesn't get them the hollowness and how they do that. Because a lot of times, what people do is they sell their life force. They exchange their life force for something physical, whether it's love, right? How many times have you heard people go, I sacrificed everything to love you? And it's like, well, maybe that's why the love relationship didn't work out because you pulled yourself out. There's nothing more of you there, right? So that's not the way love should be. Or people do that for success, or whatever, or spirituality, or God or whatever. And when you use your life force to create something physical, it just doesn't work out. I'm sure there's a lot of religious text around that as well. Buddha was literally talking about that. As a matter of fact, it's like, hey, which people probably got it wrong, but basically it's like, do not exchange your life force. Understand who you are, where you came from, and then go enjoy the pleasures of the physical form. But what most people do is like, hey, I'm going to sacrifice myself for the physical form, and that's going to be my identity. But it's a fleeting identity. And you see it in a lot of people who are highly successful, and their success doesn't last long. They're not happy with their success.
So having that sense, enjoying potentially all
Mhm.
the trappings of success, money,
Yep,
fame, whatever, but still knowing there's something more for me. I don't, it's all what's the point? Big deal.
exactly.
Those are the people that are really called to your work.
Exactly. And once they understand the deeper mechanism, it's not that they leave their success like a lot of people, like Matthew McConaughey, for example, great actor. He leaves acting to go into the spiritual work, because there's something missing there, right? A lot of people are like that. It's not that you leave your success or you leave the luxuries. It's just that you own who you are, which means that those luxuries become a reflection of who you are rather than, say, a facade of who you are, which is really key.
Don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
So
Well, MasAti, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more? How can people learn about the program and how can they get involved?
Well, we've got if you sign up for the newsletter, we got a free package. It's like I call them three hyper meditations. They're not your normal meditation. They literally will shift you into, say, higher gear of your life. That's at the XI code, thexicode.com. Or you can also go to my YouTube channel where I do a lot of live sessions. You can actually see me in action on how fast people can transform. And it gives you a lot of the answers about life that people are searching for, and that is MASATI, my first name, Masati dot live.
Excellent. Well, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show us out of your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to the thexicode.com. It's THEXICODE.com and learn more about what Masada and I have been talking about today. Go to his YouTube channel as well. It's MASATI.LIVE. And I will certainly link all of those in the notes of the show. And you can begin to see a little bit more concrete examples of what we've been talking about because the YouTube channel has wonderful resources, as does the website for going deeper into what we've been talking about today. Thanks again, Masadi.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Drew.
Until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.